Hello, everybody. It's great to be amongst you. Um, we have seen how COVID-19 has dealt an unprecedented setback to the worldwide efforts to end extreme poverty and reduce inequality. And we all know that women and young girls have always been at the receiving end of the worst, the most extreme um, uh, effects of extreme poverty and inequality. So where it affects men, it affects women much worse. And so we also know that in this pandemic, decades of advancements in development outcomes have been set back. So we can't just take the steps forward that we have taken, we have to spring forward when it comes to improving women's economic empowerment, voice and agency. So we cannot sit back and rest on this. We really have to be very, very particular in how we move forward. The World Bank, for example, has estimated that about 150 million people will fall into extreme poverty by the end of 2021. And this is a direct result of the pandemic, and it will hit the poorest and the most vulnerable in this sense, and women even more so. So we have done a lot at the World Bank in terms of funding and providing funding, not just for the vaccines and treatments and healthcare, but also to ensure that the decades of gains that we have made in the development space do not go backwards, particularly those for women and girls. And I just want to say a little bit about access to justice and equality. This is core as well. And this has suffered too in the pandemic. And we really need to ensure that going forward, we address these issues. Rule of law, access to justice will be absolutely core. It is actually, lack of access to justice is a central dimension for poverty. And we have increasing evidence that it plays a critical role in effective and strong institutions, which is what we need for peace, for equal rights, for opportunities, and to make women's lives better. So there's a lot to do. We shouldn't be pessimistic. But in all of that, we must remember that women are generally 50% of the population. So they are 50% of the solution. So they must be in 50% of all the conversations, solutions, everything. They are the other half of the equation. And you won't get your answer without them. So we have to, in this post-pandemic society, in order for us all to thrive, it's not just about women thriving, for us all to thrive, they have to be in the decision-making process, in homes, in their local communities, in society at large. They need to be in everything, and they must not be excluded, because the world as a whole, our governments as a whole, our institutions, you name it, will not really succeed and will not have the innovation, will not have the tools that they need without accessing that amazing 50%. So getting equality, women's economic empowerment, getting them to the table in leadership positions is essential. But we mustn't think it will just happen organically. We're going to have to make sure that happens. And for us here at the bank and the work we're doing, that's really in the development space to make sure what we have lost, we regain really quickly and then some. So we have to do this. We won't reach our goals without it. And so the work, so that we support the work that is being carried out by the network of women political leaders. This is so important, but we mustn't forget the most vulnerable and the poor, because they have something to contribute here, particularly women in those categories. So let's go for it. Let's see a more gender equal world that thrives to its fullest potential. Let's be the best we can be.